We did karaoke. We were drinking. It was the greatest night of my life. It was awesome, dude.
I bet. That's great. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to share stories of our unexpected geek moments that we've had. And we've got quite a few of them.
Then there was a time that I was butt naked and she was butt naked.
Now that I got everyone here together,
I'm getting worried.
I can start the sacrifice.
Run, Tina, run!
Oh, really? Her?
Yes.
He's after Rob. What do you
So Ray had a really good idea. One of our viewers had a good idea for an episode. He emailed us like 85 ideas. But one that stood out was the unexpected geek stories. Because we all come from different genres of the geekdom world, right? I have shared my stories about going to comic book conventions and like partying with a bunch of comic creators, right?
Yeah.
I was not, like, that day that I woke up, I wasn't going to be expecting to be drinking with, like, the likes of Joe Quesada or John Romita Jr. or John...
But you're
Omar. I firmly
Things
believe
like that
you
just
had...
happen.
that you
No,
planned
nobody
things out.
plans things like that. I wish I could. So, there were times, like, you know, I remember one time, like, my brother and I, we went to Chicago, we stayed in a, like, hotel, we were there to go, like, visit family, right? And the Beastmaster stepping out of a taxi, and I'm looking at my brother, I'm like, man, it's the Beastmaster. He's like, no. And I'm like, and I get closer, I'm like, fuck, man, that's the fucking Beastmaster, what's his name? And this is before the age of the internet,
This is
right?
before Google
Before
your
our
phone.
phones. And he's like, I don't know, but I think you're right, it is the Beastmaster. So, I don't know what, oh no, he was getting into
How
the
old
taxi.
were you guys at this point?
Probably 18, we were visiting
Okay.
family. I was 18, so he was like
Okay.
15. So he steps into the taxi, and his name's Mark Singer, right? 'Cause now, you know. But then I was like, Beastmaster! And he's so nice, dude. He waves, he's like, hey! And he gets into his taxi, he's like, get me the fuck out of here. Bunch of nerds know who I am. Not even my character from V, but fucking Beastmaster. But things like that have happened. So I'm curious as to, like, what kind of stories, like, a normal day started out, like, you run into somebody that's geeky, or you run into somebody that... Because I got a couple of stories, and I just wanted to...
I have a few. I'll start.
All right,
start.
let's go ahead, man.
Literally 4 days ago, I was walking down the street downtown, and I had on this shirt, which you all know what this is, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
And look at the back. It says "Head Shala" on the back. That's not what it says. So I'm walking down the street, and this black dude across the street goes, we're walking the same direction, goes, hey man, I like your shirt. Like, thanks, bruh. Then he says, Kame. Now, keep in mind, there's lawyers and stuff walking by as we're doing this.
Lawyers.
Right? Well, of course I'm going to respond with, Kame. And then in the middle of the road at the intersection on 2nd Street, or Short Street, and then we walked our separate ways. And that was a good time. It was a good time.
That's amazing.
That happened 4 days ago. I got a ton.
Yeah, see, I love stories like that. So, very similar shirt. 2015. Was wearing "Winter's Coming" on his shirt, right?
Yeah.
Which is Game of Thrones.
I didn't actually say this is a Dragon Ball shirt.
I'm in Alabama. Dothan, Alabama, of all places, visiting a friend of mine. They walked up to me and were like, Vala Mogulis, right? Without saying, like, I like your shirt. And at the time, I had read the book, so I knew how to respond, which is like Vala Lo Harris or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever the response is, I said it.
Vala Mogulis.
And he high-fived each other. And he's like, oh, man, I love your shirt. And I'm like, thanks, dude. I love the show. You read the books, obviously, right? You know, they started talking. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I like when shirts bring people together. Like, and then it takes a lot for somebody to walk up to somebody and go, not just like, I like your shirt, but to do Kamehameha, right?
Dude,
That's embarrassing.
that was-
Like,
that was
not a lot of people do that,
You have
right?
to be a big nerd and then know like certain responses and to,
Right.
like,
What if
interact
he,
like that.
there's a small chance that the guy came up to me and said Vala, you know, Vala Mogulis, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't
I don't know what you
speak
just-
English. I don't speak English. or
You
Spanish.
could have gotten upset. I don't speak Spanish. I'm an American.
But you know, there's a small chance that you would have been like, "Dude, I don't." My brother got me this shirt.
This
I don't know
is
what
a
it
North
is.
shirt with
I
some
don't
Japanese letters on.
So I love stories like that. Now I've had weird people come up to me because I happen to just like attract really strange people. This is one of my wife's favorite stories. Is when I was at a shop in, I think it was a Kmart. It was in Kmart looking at toys, and there's this guy, and I'm looking at the Sonic figures that had just been released from the Steve Urkel Sonic cartoon that was out at the time. This guy comes up
Julia
to me.
White is his name.
Sure. All right. This guy comes up to me and he was like, "Hey, did you know that echidnas had multiple penises?" And I said, "Now at this point, I'm at the point in my I'm at a point in my life when I'm like, of course this is happening."
Why would he choose that?
Well, and I respond because I'm not mean. I'm like, "No,
I
that's
didn't know that.
awesome. How many?" You know, and he starts telling me about echidnas because of what's his
Knuckles.
name? Knuckles, right?
Knuckles the
I
echidna.
guess how he thought I might be interested in real facts about echidnas. We spent 30 minutes talking. Melanie had to come find me. She said, "Where you been?" I'm like, "I'm talking to my new weird friend about fucking penises."
This is when, like, I would just, like, saunter off somewhere, because even I, in that, like, I don't have a good social filter, like, would be like, this is a really creepy situation.
But I like talking to people like that.
This
Omar,
strikes
you
me as that
thrive on
scene
this.
from the Christmas Story with when they're waiting in line to see Santa, and the kid's like, "I like Wizard of Oz." And Robbie's like, "Yeah, that would be me."
Well, see,
So many.
I'm like you, where like I also wear a lot of nerdy video game shirts, just anyway, and I have this really cool NES belt
Where are you
buckle.
going with that?
I have this really cool underbridges too, but that's for a different episode. So
no.
the other day, I was in the grocery store, and this woman, she's younger than me, but she was still like, I'd say in her 30s or something like that. She walks up to me and says, this is what she does. She points at my crotch. She goes, "I love that." And I was like,
And you were like, "Thank you."
and I was like,
That's right, baby.
like normally I have responses for everything, and I was like, "Thanks." And then like you could tell, she's like, "Your Nintendo belt buckle. I love your Nintendo belt buckle."
I was hoping that you were going to tell us this amazing story where this lady that you don't know just got down on her knees and started doing the Contra code up, down, down, left, right.
That was the next thing I was going to say. Another time, a very attractive lady saw my belt buckle and was like, "Is that a Nintendo controller?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, good job." And she didn't go on her knees, but she did start playing it on, and my wife is like standing like 20 feet away while this Asian girl is going like this, and I was like,
Yeah, I don't see you stopping that.
No, I know, I didn't stop at all. I was just like,
How dare you,
I'm gonna let this
ma'am.
ride out as long as I can. So like,
Please don't turn around.
This episode is taking a turn.
I know this is a little bit weird.
like,
Yeah, let's call it like, how close can I get to Rob's crotch?
it's like,
All right,
Says
I'm
no one
gonna
ever.
take us away from Rob's crotch.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
why?
So Omar had to jog my memory for any of this, because I really fought this idea. Like,
Yeah, you did not
because
like this episode.
My I'm thinking, my geekiest story is somebody comes up to me and in my office like, "Oh, is that Voltron?" I was like, no, it's not.
Well, you have the
isn't that
introverts.
No, it's not.
The
it's not.
extroverts.
It's a transformer.
Yep.
It's not a model kit. I didn't put. It's just a toy.
You ever fuck with people though? Like, yes, I put that together. This is actually my design. This is Megatron. This is Optimus.
The patent
I wanna-
They're made of corn husks.
I'm gonna make a comic out of it. It'd be great.
But no, Omar reminded me. So we just got back a couple of weeks ago from our grand California vacation.
Nice.
We went out to San Francisco. We did Disneyland for a little bit. But one of the big things we did was we got to tour Lucasfilm
That's so cool.
in San Francisco. And the reason we got to do that is an unintentionally geeky story.
Dude, tell me.
Please tell Dan.
Come on.
As I don't think I know this story.
You've all met my wife. Some of you know her better than others, but she has a propensity, like Omar and Rob, I don't think it's like Tina, to talk to strangers.
No.
So in 2013, we did a couple of races at Disneyland, like the half
Marathons,
marathon.
right? Mm-hmm.
And the races are super early, so we did the race, went back to the hotel, got cleaned up, and went right to the park, and we were like first in line at the gate. The park wasn't open yet. And this very nice couple came in and sat down behind us. They were a little bit younger than we were, not too much, but we just, Lori starts chatting them up. and you know, they were very nice, and we ended up like kind of running into them a couple of times in the park, and we rode some rides together and stuff.
Sure.
You know, not a big deal. Just like, oh, hey, these are nice people. Well, Lori kept in touch, and this wonderful woman, since then, got a job at Lucasfilm.
Wow.
And
Nice.
she just spontaneously invited us out there. Said, if you guys ever make it out here, I can give you the employee tour. And so we did. So this is like not open to the public. You have to know somebody to get this tour.
That's amazing.
And they've got props and all kinds of awesome stuff from the, you know, from different movies, from Star Wars, but all the different movies that ILM has done. ILM is in the same office suite. So
were there projects going on?
yeah,
there
they're project. Like I had to sign an NDA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why we don't have picture overlays right now. But you know, we'd just be walking by people's offices, and you see like big crowd scene renders. There are like a bunch of people in a conference room looking at like wireframe renders of different things going on. It was incredible.
That's
it was,
awesome.
It was
That's
super
really
awesome.
neat.
Yeah, and it all comes from just, you know,
Talking to
my
people,
wife
right?
talking to people.
So, Echidna Penis Kid, if you're out there and you're working somewhere, like, you know, I'd love to get a free employee tour of wherever the hell you are. The
Kinda
Echidna
weird.
Penis Museum.
No, let's not do that.
Tina, what about you? You haven't said much.
No, I haven't. Usually what happens with me is I'm in cosplay and I'm running to the store before I go to a convention, and people come up and they're like, hey, are you in a play? And that's usually like what happens to me. Like it's, and I'm like, I've even been accused of going to a square dance when I've been in a very floofy dress. And I'm like,
accused of going
accused.
My God!
I would never go to a square dance. But there was one time, actually it happened earlier this year in January, I went to go see My Favorite Murder podcast live. So I went to a theater. I accidentally booked tickets not in Nashville, but in Atlanta, because I am a nervous clicker and I just clicked the first link that was open and I bought
Nervous
tickets.
clicker.
It was a whole foobar type of thing, but I bought tickets accidentally to the Atlanta show. And so we're like, okay, we can still do this. We'll just stay with a friend's family. And before the show, we decided to go out to eat. A really nice ramen place. But we had to wait. So we were like, well, we'll go get drinks over at this other little place. And we're walking out of the ramen shop, and suddenly walking towards us was a regular guy and a guy dressed as Naruto. And Maddie was with us. She was like, hey, is that? And I was like, oh, that's totally Naruto. And we're like, yeah, let's act cool. Let's act
act
cool.
cool.
Let's
Yeah,
act cool. Because
It's the real Naruto.
it was, some like guy just dressed up as Naruto, and his friend was actually looking kind of like embarrassed. Like he's like, oh man, and he was saying stuff like, I can't believe you were doing this, dude.
This is
Dude, you don't
anyone
do
who
this.
walks with me anywhere. That's the same.
Well-
Can't believe you're wearing this hat in public.
And it's downtown Atlanta, so it's kind of like one of those things where I'm sure the guy was like, "This is not cool. This is not how you do this, homebro. This is not cool."
Is that how guys
year
talk in
did
your
that
head?
guy-
You say home, bro. Go ahead, dear. Go ahead. Go ahead, home girl.
Okay, my language is a little dated.
Home slice.
We get close enough, and they're going into the same place as us, and we're like, oh, we can't. We're like, Naruto!
Yeah, we get it.
Hey, yo, Naruto! And his friend's like, oh man, no, don't encourage him.
Should have flashed him.
No,
Naruto!
this guy was like,
his friend would have been like, I'm fucking dressing up as Naruto.
he was like, see, people know who I am. And I was like,
I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah, people know who you are. That's
people
awesome.
do know who you are.
That's awesome.
And it's cool.
That's really cool. Back when Dan and I used to write for magazines, well, this is one of my favorite stories to tell. It's not, well, it's a little geeky, but it's interesting. I got a hold of Bandai. It was Bandai, and they were shipping me things. And the guy that was like, for toy reviews,
Everyone's
right?
shipping
You
things,
took,
dude.
you took what was a small scam to get toys and made it into a very large scam to
Operation.
get toys.
Shut up.
Nice
Anyway.
work. Nice work.
So I called the guy, the head there. I think his name was Cliff, and he was like, "Oh yeah, just go ahead and call the warehouse. Tell them to just ship whatever you want over to your house." I'm like, "Cool,
Whoa.
done."
Yeah, let me go do that.
So I called this lady. I cannot remember her name, and this is really funny. She calls me back because I missed her call. She's like, "Hey, Omar, like it's nice to meet you. Or I'm gonna be sending you stuff. We're gonna be working together. I noticed your last name. It's very unique. And I'm like, oh yeah, Valdivieso. She's like, yeah. This is really weird, but my mom knew a guy from Peru. Like my father, my biological father, he's from Peru, and his last name was Valdivieso. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's like, it's not very common like down there. And she was like, yeah, he was in like around the Miami area in 1977. I'm like, oh, cool. My dad was around that area at the time. No. Well, before that, we were kind of flirting with each other too, so this gets really weird. And she's like, okay. I'm like, yeah, my dad, like, he would help my grandfather on the ship, so he would go from port to port. And he was like, yeah, his dad owned a boat, and she's like, your dad's name wouldn't happen to be Carlos. And I'm like, holy shit, my dad's name is Carlos. And she's like, that's weird, right? I'm like, my dad had sex with your mom, and I have a sister out there, maybe. And I'm like, yeah, that's funny.
No, it's funny.
You gonna send me the Megazords, or am I gonna call somebody else? I never talked to this lady again, but I thought that was so weird that I'm like, she was like, you're from Peru, your last name's your dad's name, Carlos, and we both laughed about it with that awkward, like, oh shit.
Oh god, this is my
and what's funny is I told my dad that story, and he was like, and that's it. He never was like, oh man, that's crazy, or like, yeah, I remember, like, he just laughed. I'm like, all right, I might say shit.
So let's transition away from potential family drama.
Your mom doesn't watch the show, does she?
She does. Go ahead.
Hang on. Cut. We're gonna cut all that out. So you had talked about a person that you met, and they got a cool job at a cool place. There was one time I was flying back from some IBM event, and there happened to be IBM had 40,000 people, 400,000 employees. There happened to be a nice young lady that was also in the same flight, and we just started talking. And my buddies are making fun of me. It's like, of course you're talking to the good-looking chicken. I'm like, no. Like, we work at IBM. We had things in common, and blah blah blah. So we kept talking and kept in contact. And she left IBM and did a couple of ventures, but then she ended up at Activision. So, like, we hit each other with Twitter and like, hey, you work at Activision now, that's great. It's like, hey, do you want some free games? I said, yes. Yes,
I do.
Yes, please. Yes, I do, please. So, what you were talking about, like, hey, someone getting a cool job, I got all kinds of Calls of Duties.
I was like, you don't even like those games.
I don't even like Calls of No, Call of Duty 4. Calls of Duties. That fourth was a great game.
Yeah, Calls of Duty 4.
Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from, like, meeting cool people. I got one more.
Yeah, go
and this is my favorite geek story, and this kind of is cheating because I was in a geek area where things like this would happen anyway. But it was cool how it transpired. I've already told a story about how I met Shigeru Miyamoto, which is one of my greatest stories. I love that story. But I've also met like Hideo Kojima.
Castlevania.
No.
I'm kidding.
Pay attention. Hideo Kojima, Metal Gear guy. Koji Igarashi, Castlevania guy, Tetsuya Mizuguchi, the Res, Infinite, and
He's passed away now.
No, he said he threw the other day. Tetris Effect, Luminous.
I want to sit down.
Hate you in the face. So
Don't listen to Omar.
So this was E3 2005 or 6, and we have a buddy who works in the industry, who works for Sony. We're not going to say his name.
We've dropped his name so many times, Shane.
We're not going to confirm or deny that. But back in the day, Sony always threw a party, but you had to like be in the industry to get into these parties. Like you had to be in, you had to be somebody. Back then, we technically came in as IBM employees, like we made the PowerPC processor for the GameCube. Just quiet. But we had enough documentation that proved, like, hey, we work at IBM. IBM made the PowerPC processor. Get me into E3. That worked. But that was not enough for us to get into, like, the Sony party officially. Okay. So, a person who worked at Sony came up with this plan called the Underground Railroad, where people would get in.
This is a horrible name.
It's great. It's a great name.
I think somebody already copyrighted that.
They would take the badge, they take the little wristband, and you had to kind of like do this thing. And this was easier to do for the girls. Called what?
Never mind.
What were you gonna say? You racist piece of. Take the wristband.
You ghosting it.
Put it in your pocket. Go back out. Find your homies. Put it on. Hope that you didn't break it, and go into the show. Right. So we did this many times. We took many a person down the Underground Railroad to get into these Sony parties, and talking about geek encounters. Like, this is where I met Hideo Kojima for the first time, like, half tipsy, half drunk. I gave him my business card like I was somebody official, which I was not. Drank so much with Mizuguchi-san, and what was he doing? Res. I think he was just come off of Res, and I don't know if Luminous was a thing yet. I don't remember. But super, really nice guy. Spoke English, like we were drinking. Koji Igarashi, we've actually done karaoke with him before. Like, I remember you guys drinking with him. Like, it was just really cool being in this geeky, like, situation. Traversing, getting in, and just hanging out with these guys. Like, you know, drinking, having fun. Like, my gaming icons and legends. It was really cool.
So I've got a few more, but I'm just going to say one. This is back probably 2 or 3 years ago. I was flying, very much like you, and I was coming back from. But it wasn't a conference. It was like I was flying back from Dallas. That's where it was. I was flying back.
Did you see
from Dallas,
Beyonce?
and they were stopping at Atlanta. No, I did not.
Okay.
And I was sitting next to a guy. Like, it was a 3-seat. And I was in the middle, and there was that guy here. And this guy here in the aisle seat looks so familiar. But it's one of those moments. I'm like, man, I know this fucking guy from somewhere. And I'm too cheap to pay for Wi-Fi on the plane, so I'm not, you know, it's not like I can do a face capture of him or anything.
Yeah, right.
But then I'm like, man, I'm so sorry. You look so familiar. And he's like, yeah, you probably know who I am. He introduced himself to me. He's like, I'm Lloyd Kaufman. I'm like, oh, yeah. And in my head, I'm like, fuck, I know that name. I'm like, that's awesome, man. Shit.
Because I'm like, who? Mike Jones.
And I'm like, where the fuck do I know this guy? Oh my god, please ask the right question.
Oh, that's the worst.
Because, you know, I'm like, because I'm into so many things. I'm like, because I'm like, he's not a comic book creator. Is he a voice actor? Maybe he's a voice actor, but why would I recognize his face? So I'm like,
you gotta ask open-ended questions like,
I played it cool,
what are you
and I'm
working
like,
on?
So, I said, I've seen a few of your movies. He's like, oh, that's great, man. That's awesome.
Okay, movies.
Shit, he didn't give me anything to go on. And I'm like, so the flight was like 2.5, 3 hours.
Oh my god.
And I'm trying to get
so
things on him.
awkward.
Yeah, well, I'm like, I know this fucking guy from somewhere. Jesus Christ, where's this guy from? And he's he starts telling me like how it all got started, like him and his partner, how they build the company together. I'm like, that's such a cool story. Who the fuck are you, dude? And Travis, if you're watching this, I know you're going to appreciate this. As soon as I drop the name, he's going to be like, how did I not recognize him? He's the guy that created Trauma. Do you guys are familiar with Trauma?
Yes,
Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
Those are his babies. Like, he did Toxic Avenger 1, 2, and 3. These awesome movies.
I didn't
And I didn't recognize his name
Trauma.
up until like 20 minutes before we're landing. I'm like, fucking Trauma. And I told him, he's like, I love Toxic Avenger, man. I love those movies. They're so awesome. I even like the stupid video games that were based on the stupid cartoons.
Those games were terrible.
Kind of nothing to do with your movie. That's when I became a fanboy, and he was like, oh, this dumbass just recognized who I was. Otherwise, it would have been like 3 hours of like,
Hey, so your next project is great, right?
So even I get caught off guard because my brain just doesn't work. I was like, I knew
There's
I
so
knew
much
him.
to sort through though
yeah.
sometimes.
But anyway, thank you guys for sharing. That was good. See, Dan, you did good, and Tina. So thank you very much for sticking with us and listening to all our stories, where it kind of started off normal and our day kind of got a little geekier and weirder. So if this is your first time watching, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button. And I may have a sister out there somewhere. So that's something.
Da-da-da-da-da-da! Omar!
Hey, what's going on? Shit. Why do y'all put me on the spot? Okay.
Wait,
Yeah.
do we need to start? Restart that. That was the slop.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, thanks for gathering today.